is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we're heading back to St. Pete as we revisit Harmony Korine's Spring Breakers.
4 college girls hold up in a restaurant in order to fund their spring break vacation while partying, drinking, and taking drugs. They are arrested, only to be bailed out by a drug and arms dealer. It's a rewatch, Ben. We're here.
We did it. I'm so excited. We've done a handful, I believe, of rewatches, and I was very stoked to visit this movie again. It's been way too long. Word to the wise for anyone's curious, not a work-friendly movie. Don't try to watch this at work. Please don't get fired.
Yes, this is very fascinating because we are doing a little bit of pre-recording. I'm getting ready to go to TIFF, and we'll very quickly talk about that before we talk about Spring Breakers. But we've been trying to record this Spring Breakers episode for like probably like a week. We've been like really looking forward to it. We watched Spring Breakers. We, of course, have not talked about our thoughts on a rewatch or anything, except for the fact that you texted me because we were going to record one night, and you were like, I'll watch the movie during the day. We can record at night. And I was like, that sounds great. Maybe 20 minutes later, you're like, fuck, forgot I can't watch this movie at work. We're going to have to record another day.
Yeah, there are occasions where I have a little bit of downtime where, you know, my computer is rendering or doing whatever so I can focus on a movie a little bit more than normal. And yeah, you're like not even 2 minutes into this movie and it's just like slow-mo nudity right in your face. It's like, oh, I cannot watch this here. I totally forgot about the intro and throughout the rest of the movie as well. So watched it at home and I loved it.
Yeah, that's a good PSA, I guess. Don't watch Spring Breakers at your place of work or place of employment. I would say that's pretty smart. So we talked about Spring Breakers like two plus years ago. Episode 14 of the pod. Do you know when that came out? Because we're on episode 162 right now.
Yeah, it's almost 150. So yeah, like almost 3 years ago, right? Like that's crazy.
A long time ago. And this is when we were first like birthing this pod. And I know Spring Breakers was like high on the list. Kind of the reason, one of the reasons we started this pod is like we could do Uncut Gems, Hereditary, Spring Breakers, like these really big iconic A24 movies. So we hit Spring Breakers at 14. We'll talk about what we thought the first time around and how we compare that to now. Movie came out in 2013, directed by Harmony Korine, who actually has a film playing at Venice right now, which is insane. It's called Baby Invasion, I believe is what it's called. Okay. Baby Invasion. The premiere of it was, at time of recording, was last night. But you know, when this pod comes out, it'll be a couple of weeks ago. And he showed up to his press conference with a vape, and he just vaped the entire press conference, which, like, Harmony, do your thing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't really know.
Spring Breakers. Baby Invasion is like another way to refer to spring break, like just a bunch of 18-year-olds showing up somewhere, just drinking and causing havoc. That's a baby invasion for sure.
It's actually Spring Breakers Part 2. Like what happened? What happens after the raid? What happens after Gucci dies? The movie is 94 minutes long. Stars James Franco, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Benson, and Rachel Korine. Is that Harmony Korine's daughter? Wife. Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I gotta figure out who does she play? Because I was just completely unaware of this.
She's the one that's like partying with the boys, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck you." He's like, "You're never gonna get this pussy." Like, I don't remember her character's name. It's just one of the scenes I remember because I'm just like, man, what would it be like to film at? Obviously, your wife is an actress, but like, it just feels still strange. Cody was her name, but they don't really. Other than Faith, I don't know that we ever really like know their names. Faith and Alien, that's like pretty much it, this whole movie.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the movie. I just wrote on one of our bullet points, Girl Goes Home, because I didn't know her name.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah. That's only get shot in the arm. There you go. That's even better. Yeah, Cody.
Yeah, there we go. That's crazy. I didn't know that. I think that changes a couple of things for me. So that's really, really interesting. Can I quickly ask you, last week we talked about Barely Lethal, and I feel like we uncovered some like black market information. How are you reeling with all of that?
It's just still so wild. It was fun. We heard from a few people who also have seen the movies, some who have covered it on their own pods. And it's just nice to know that like we're not alone in our feelings on this
Yeah.
movie. Like this movie is just like wildly aggressively bad. It's just so strange. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I recommend it even if you haven't seen the movie. Save yourself like 2 hours and don't watch
Yeah.
the movie. Just listen to the episode because it's pretty wild, all the stuff you figure out. But yeah, I surprisingly haven't stopped thinking about it.
If I may be so bold to say that our pod is actually better than the film was. So if you're trying to like weigh that out, I would recommend checking out our pod because there are things you will learn on that episode that the movie just doesn't even come close to bridging the gap on. Yeah. Okay, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So I said I'm going to TIFF. We're doing a couple of pre-recordings here. These will drop while I'm in TIFF. I'll be there September 4th through September 13th. So most of the festival. The only reason I bring this up on this pod is because there are 5 A24 movies that I am currently planning to see, obviously hoping that I get in, that there's room for me, or what have you. They would be Heretic, On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, Baby Girl, Queer, and We Live in Time. Those are the 5 movies that I'm planning to see at TIFF. Out of those 5, Ben, is there one or two that you are really looking forward to the most?
Given my Mormon upbringing, I'm very curious about Heretic, just knowing what that kind of plays into with it. Obviously, Baby Girl got like a pretty great like ovation, it seems like. But I mean, I'm excited about all of these, but Queer is the most recent thing they acquired, right? Like within the last couple weeks.
Yep.
And I'm very excited about that one.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a great slate of A24 movies. It's really, really interesting. Heretic comes out like in October, I think. So it's not like super far in advance. Things like Queer, Baby Girl, like there's no release date for these yet. So I'm really thrilled to be able to see them. Hopefully, like you said, Baby Girl got a really good reception at Venice. The things that I have read about this movie they make me very hot, and I am very excited because Nicole Kidman, Harris Dickinson, those two of the greats, two of our pals here on this show.
Very much so, yeah. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. I'm not looking forward to how long we're gonna have to wait. This kind of feels like it's Sing Sing all over again, where you're just like, I can't wait to talk about this in 8 months or whatever. So I'm curious. You have to write down your thoughts on it before you forget.
Yeah, we'll do a TIFF recap episode in the middle of September when I come back. Of course, whatever I do end up seeing, we're not going to spoil or anything like that. So I think that'll be a pretty fun conversation. Okay, let's talk about Spring Breakers because this is a movie that exists, and I'm curious what you thought of it this time around. I mentioned that we talked about it back in episode 14. That was back when we had our old like rating system. So we just had 3 tiers of kind of what we thought of the movies. I gave it a farewell. You gave it a good time. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I heard you earlier say that you really did like the rewatch.
Yeah, I had a really good time with it. I think this is something that plays back even better, like after a rewatch when you can kind of understand what's going to be coming. And yeah, I had a blast. Like the visuals of it. I mean, it's part of the trivia, on IMDb, but one of the most interesting things about this is Harmony Korine said that he wanted this film to be a mixture of like a Britney Spears music video and a Gaspar Noé film. And
cool. Yeah. Sick.
And knowing that that's the same guy that directed Climax, it's like, yeah, that's what this is. This is a Britney Spears music video and a Casper Noé film for sure. And that's complimentary. Like, I think he does such a good job with it. The visuals to me cannot be like understated in this movie. Like they are over the top. They are beautiful. I think they're amazing. I love the cinematography. I like the idea of taking the, quote unquote, like Disney child actors and like really just doing a hard 180 on what people expect from them in here, both with Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez. I think that's super interesting. And yeah, I don't know, like this is a wild performance from Franco. This movie is just like it's just crazy. Like it's just over the top. But if you know that, or if you're like open to that, I think you really enjoy it. Like, I don't know. I had a great time.
Yeah.
How, knowing what you thought about it the first time, how did this play back for you?
So the first time that I watched this film, almost going on 3 years ago, I gave it 2 stars. I was not a fan. Not a fan. Didn't think it was very good. Rewatched it. And here's quickly what I said. I said, this movie is bad, but also kind of amazing and thought-provoking and intoxicating and provocative and ridiculous and annoying and stupid and fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of excellent. Like, I don't know what else to say about it, but like I really stand by what I said of like the fact that it's like not a great movie, but there's so many really great components to it. And if you know what you're going into, I think it is a huge, huge benefit to this movie because, especially with Gaspar Noé and, you mentioned Climax, a movie that I don't like very much because I've only seen it one time. I was so overcome with like everything that was happening. I kind of just like shut down and I was like, this is not for me. Same thing happened the first time I saw Spring Breakers. I was like, this is just like not working for me. I don't get it. Like, I'm not on the same wavelength as it. I'm not buying into Franco. The whole like Vanessa Hudgens, Selena Gomez thing. Like, they are too Disney Channel for me still. And so it took like a watch under my belt to finally come around and understand what everybody is doing. I'm looking at the Film Grab page for Spring Breakers, and if you're unaware, Film Grab is a website that basically houses a bunch of frames from movies. You can search any movie and usually find it on Film Grab, and it like is making me want to rewatch Spring Breakers. Like, so good. There are so many good frames in this movie that I'm just like, holy shit, that's in this movie. Holy shit, they do that. Like, it's kind of crazy. So there are a lot of things that I like about it. There's definitely some things that I still don't think work about Spring Breakers. But I'm much more on the Spring Breakers like side this time in the squad. I quickly want to talk about Harmony Korine because I mentioned he's at Venice with another movie. From what I know about Harmony Korine, and I don't know a whole lot, so I could be like kind of off base and I could really be only consuming what like I'm being fed on Twitter. But he seems like a really fucking weird guy. And his movies definitely reflect that. Now, I'm curious. I don't think you saw Aggro Drift. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have not seen that.
Okay, I saw Aggro Drift and I thought it was bad. So I feel like that's a Spring Breaker situation all over again, where I'm like, the first time I was like, what the hell was that? And then the second time I'll be like, wow, okay, that kind of worked for me. What's your take on Harmony as a filmmaker and the things that he has made?
Yeah, he's wild. My first exposure to him was as a writer in the movie Kids, which is just a wild movie. It's a lot to kind of take in. It was directed by Larry Clark, but Harmony wrote it. I've also seen Gummo. I'm trying to think of like what else I've seen of his. He's obscure, like offbeat. I don't know. Like,
I don't even know though. That's like, I feel like that's very tame for Harmony.
Yeah,
like, he's pretty offbeat. It's like, no, he's like a mile off the road.
He's wild. Yeah, like Spring Breakers does seem to be his most straightforward film, and I guess that's saying quite a bit. I'm very curious about Baby Invasion just by the name alone. It seems kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, he's a unique voice for sure.
Yes, I love that. Harmony Korine, one of our most unique voices we have in cinema right now.
Put it on the poster.
Yeah, put it on the movie poster for sure. Okay, I had one question about Harmony. I have one question about Spring Break, and then we'll jump into True Cinema and break down Spring Breakers. My question was, because Gucci Mane obviously is very featured quite heavily in Spring Breakers. Like, I would say maybe not the back half, but definitely the final act really revolves around Gucci Mane's character and James Franco's character of Alien, and how they have this kind of turf war going on, and how there's a lot of things we don't know, but basically it sounds like Alien was under the wing of like Gucci Mane and then split and is doing his own thing now and is trying to take down the ringmaster. Do you think Harmony Korine makes movies just to be around rappers? Because Travis Scott is in Aggro Drift. Gucci Mane really, really prevalent in this film with some, in my opinion, just A1 one-liners. Kind of weird, no?
Yeah, Snoop is in Beach Bum.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, is it bad if that's the reason he does? You know what I mean? It's just like, maybe that's exactly why he just like wants to hang out with the crowd, or maybe they appreciate him and they want to hang out with him and see what they've heard. Like, I can imagine what his sets are like, you know what I mean? Like, they've got to be pretty wild. So, yeah, I think you cast people that you want to be around. It kind of comes back to the whole Favreau thing with Chef, where he like his future partner is ScarJo and his past partner is I forget her name from Modern Family, but
Sofia Vergara.
Yeah, right. Wasn't that? I think that's like his ex-wife in the show, and then like ScarJo's his girlfriend. I'm like, all right, man. Like, I guess if that's what you want to write into these characters. So yeah, I guess that's the joy of being a writer director, is you get to cast who you want to be around.
Yeah, sure. It's one of those things that's like, and I'm really not on the wavelength of like it's so bad it's good. I kind of think that's a little stupid. But Spring Breakers is probably the closest I get to like it's not great, but like who else could have done this? And who else on the planet could have actually made it work the way that it does work?
Yeah.
And definitely the fact of like, well, like hats off to you, Harmony. Like you made the movie you wanted to make, and it's kind of crazy, and it's really, really fun to watch. Have you, Ben, ever had a wild spring break?
No. Maybe some like wild vacations, but spring break, no. I mean, I have gone to Florida on spring break, but it was spent at Disney World entirely. So you can only get too wild after your high school graduation, that spring break. So nothing too crazy. What about you?
You didn't like sneak off to the streets and try to get involved with Alien?
I don't know if like the statute of limitations is up on the time, so I don't want to comment too much. Yeah. I don't know who's listening. So yeah, nothing too wild.
Yeah, that's fair. No, never have done anything for a spring break that is really even worth like mentioning. I don't know. I just like I came from a small town where on the West Coast where it was just like, I don't know, spring break like wasn't really a thing that people like freaked out about, at least in my circle. So I never really did anything fun for spring break, not like this. Now, if you were somehow in the orbit of these people, could you see yourself maybe linking up and joining them in their escapades?
Dude, I'm such an introvert. I cannot imagine like this, like even 20 years ago when I was in that age group, I don't know that I could have done it. Like, and now being older, I'm just like, I just feel bad for the hotel owners. But at the same time, it's like, you've got to know what you're getting yourself into opening a hotel in St. Pete. Like, you're going to lose all the ceiling tiles. It's just going to happen, like that's just worked into it. But it looked chaotic. It's so wild. Don't you think? Like, could you have stood with them?
Couldn't have done it. No way. I don't have what it takes to hang with that crowd. Yeah. And I can tell you initially from, like you said, like the first 6 minutes, the montage that we get of everybody topless on the beach, consuming beer to the maximum effect. I don't even think I have what it takes to hang with that crowd. And they're like a notch. They're like just having fun. They're not on Spring Breakers level. So I don't think I could do it.
It's a lot. It's so much.
Yeah, and being older, just watching people party like this, it just makes me tired. It's just like, man,
for sure.
I'm so tired watching you. Like I'm exhausted thinking about how tired you're going to be at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Any other general thoughts on Spring Breakers before we dive into the movie specifically?
Just for me, over the top in the best way, and it totally works for me. It's a wild premise. I had kind of forgotten basically the first 20 minutes, of just why they're there or how they get there, all that kind of stuff. But some really interesting cinematography and stuff that we'll get into, I'm sure.
So that is a good point to bring up, actually, because that's one of the things that I find really borderline about Spring Breakers is that it kind of switches halfway. Of course, we get enveloped in like Alien's world and stuff like that, but it switches from like really focus on these girls and the consequences of their actions and what they're doing, and being enveloped in like this really addicting lifestyle. And then it switches to Alien and Gucci Mane's like street beef and everything that happens with that, which I would have loved a little bit more backstory on. I would have loved to know, like, what, how did Alien get in this position? Just give me 60 seconds on, like, here's their history a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a huge benefit to the storyline.
It would have been really cool. And it's interesting because he never denies any of it. And I think he even says that line in the movie. He's like, I'm not denying that. Like, he's like, everything I learned from you. Like, everything I am is because of you, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, so were you the right-hand man who then just saw like an opportunity to like, well, maybe I'll break off and just take this little corner of the market and just like turn sour. I don't know. You're right. I think it could have been really interesting to learn maybe a little bit more about where this like divide and this hatred comes from.
We actually need a Spring Breakers prequel. That's what we're determining here on this show right now.
Yep, exactly. Get Gucci on the phone.
Get Gucci on the phone. I guess I don't think you can really recast Franco, but I'm not sure the movie would get greenlit with Franco, so maybe it's dead in the water.
I mean, do you bring in like actual riffraff, like the guy it's based on? Like maybe you just like, you don't address it and you just bring actual riffraff back or in, I guess. That'd be interesting.
You don't say anything. And you actually have, you have Gucci Mane, you have the real riffraff in the prequel, and then you're expected as an audience to just be like, cool, they recast riffraff and it was James Franco in the sequel. That sounds good to me.
What are you going to do? It's like Dumbledore and Prisoner of Azkaban. It's like, listen, man, like,
what do you
he
want?
may not be literally dead, but this guy's dead to us. So we're just bringing in riffraff, the less troublesome person somehow.
Oh, that would be such a Harmony Korine move, actually. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do True Cinema. Let's talk about Spring Breakers. I kind of briefly mentioned the introduction montage that we get on the beach. I'm pro. I like this montage a lot. I think it's a great energy setter for what Spring Breakers is. I think it is done really well. Again, I think it's like something really only Harmony could kind of like pull off in this setting, in this way. But I wonder if you're not on the Harmony Korine wavelength or like the Spring Breakers wavelength. I wonder if it could come off as quite gratuitous and like, cool. Do we need this for 7 minutes or could we just have it for 60 seconds?
100%. I think what you said is right. Like I was going to phrase it as like, it's the tone setter, you know what I mean? And it's either you're bought in or you're not. I think it's a good, almost like litmus test of just like, are you into this movie? Here it is. It's slow-mo. It's like nudity. It's Skrillex. It's just like this fucking
such a sick needle drop to start the movie. It's like the one of the most iconic party songs I think of like the last 15 years
for sure.
Definitely of like raves, and that's the emotion and the tone that we're setting.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's why I think he does it because it's just like letting people know like. It's not going to all be this, but there's going to be a little bit of this in everything I show you for the next like 100 and whatever, or 90 minutes. Like you're going to get this. So I think it's super smart and it works.
I agree. I think it's super smart. I think it works. And it does elicit some mode. And this is what I think is really successful about it. It elicits some mode, at least from me, of like, that looks really fun. I'd love to go to spring break. I'd love to go hang out and party with these people for a week and like totally blow off all my other responsibilities. Like this looks like a blast. Yes. And then you obviously get like the narrative shift of like, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And now we're hanging with Alien. And you got to be careful, but it also makes me want to weigh that risk because it looks like a lot of fun.
It does. And I think if this gets swapped with like the hotel party, then that's way different because the hotel party is claustrophobic. Yep. It is just
panic inducing.
Way too chaotic. Yeah, it is panic inducing. And it doesn't invite the same kind of like beach vibes of just like people partying and having a good time. So I think it's a super smart move to like use this as the intro for the movie.
Yeah, it's a really good point that you bring up. Okay, next bullet point, stealing the professor's car and the robbery. Now, I quickly want to ask you before we detail this scene, between the girls, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Benson, and Rachel Korine, who do you think was the best in this movie?
I think, as my partner put it, Vanessa Hudgens is doing the most in this movie. Like she's really
She is
doing
not wrong.
the best. Yeah, to like really kind of amp it up. I kind of think Rachel Korine is like the best out of the four of them. But they all hold their own, I believe. Like it's this really good casting for all four.
Yeah, it seems really good in terms of casting. I agree with you, but I would agree with your partner Ashley. I think Vanessa Hudgens is doing the most. There's a bullet point we'll get to here in a little bit where I think she takes over the movie, and I think like, okay, cool. If you don't have her energy in this role, it doesn't bring out that like kind of really mad side of things where you're like, whoa, we're dark, we're deep, and we're dark. So I think she is probably like my MVP out of the four of those girls. To that point, they steal a professor's car, which that's a whole thing. They just do it because they're just like tired of being at college, you know? They just want to go on spring break. They couldn't get enough money. And they're like, I know where he hides his keys. Let's go steal his car, and then we'll burn it after we commit a robbery.
Yeah, the burning of the car is wild. Like that's just kind of crazy. Like that seemed unnecessary. But did you take like the implication that like she was sleeping with the professor? The fact that she knew where the keys are, right?
100%. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, but like burning the car.
I guarantee you, she did the same thing with the professor that she did with that motherfucker down in spring break. Sure. You're not going to get this pussy.
Yep. Yeah.
She probably did it with the professor. That guy's been locked up in a marriage for 25 years, and he just let it slip. And he was like, here's where I hide my keys to my car. You're free game whenever you want.
Yeah, that's, oh man, it's so wild. But yeah, like I forgot about the burning of the car. It's like, dude, was this necessary? Like, I don't know that this was. I mean, maybe there's not a ton of El Camino, so you have to get rid of the evidence. But it's like I feel like you could just like wipe down some stuff and you would have been okay. But I don't know.
Here, it's a real moment of suspension of belief because they burn a car on school property during like the first couple of days of spring break when nobody is really there.
Yeah.
Nothing comes of that. Like they are never contacted. They're never brought back to campus. Like no, nothing. So that in and of itself is a real like, okay, we kind of just have to accept like they kind of get away with shit. And no matter how kind of unbelievable it may seem, they commit this robbery, like a local diner. They hold people up with water guns. I love the cinematography of this scene, how we stay in the car and we drive around the diner. And by the time we get back to where we need to pick them up, everything's complete and we only see snippets of it through the window. I think is a brilliant way to frame this robbery. It makes it much scarier, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does. It's so effective. Yeah, the use of like the water gun and the mallet, I guess. I don't know exactly what it is that she has, but like, yeah, I guess smash a couple plates that would freak people out. You know, like you think like, oh, these are just like two kind of small girls, like anyone could take them, but they have this presence and you kind of see that through the window. I believe it's all done like in one take, right? It's kind of like a one where you go around the building, which is really cool. We do get a couple flashbacks, which is nice, but yeah, it's an effective piece of filmmaking for sure.
I briefly want to mention, we kind of glossed over it here, but Selena Gomez's character of Faith is kind of like the not the outcast of the group, but definitely like the religious element of the group and like the kind of the holdout of maybe not being on board all the time for what they're doing. I think this storyline and this like thematic trope from Korine is really smart. And to name her Faith, I know like you can really fall on either side of the coin and be like, that's dumb as shit. Like, of course she's named Faith, but I think it's really smart. I think it's a great like physical injection of somebody undergoing kind of life altering decisions and their maybe inability to be who they want to be, and so they chase something else. I love what she brings to this group. They convinced her to rob that place pretty easily. I'll just say that. She was on board. She was like, guess we don't have enough money. Sure, we can rob. Wait, actually, she wasn't there though. She wasn't even there. I take it back then. She wasn't even there.
Yeah, but she supported what they did. Like when they came back and like told her about it, she was like, "Oh, that was so cool. You guys did that." Like she was on board with the money in her face for sure.
Yeah. So pretty much, she pretty much robbed them with them. Okay, next up, I have Hanging with Them Dope Boys. This is the first time that we get introduced to Alien, which is James Franco's character. This is like a concert on the beach at St. Pete's, and I think it's hilarious. I don't know anything about Riff Raff. I don't listen to Riff Raff. I don't know like any backstory or anything like that. You could literally be like, this is Riff Raff, and it's James Franco, and I'd be like, all right, cool. That sounds good. I fucking love this introduction because it shows off immediately kind of how psychotic Alien is, where he kind of just goes off on a rant about like, I'm not from this planet. Listen to this. This is poetry, big booty bitches and money. and I'm making like God level wordsmithing right now. Yeah. It's so outlandish and it's so successful.
Yeah, it works perfectly. I think it works on its own, and it really works if you have any familiarity with Riff Raff, because you're like, oh my God, like he's just doing Riff Raff. This is amazing. I don't know if he got sued for it, but I know Riff Raff like brought it up in some,
really? Oh, interesting.
Either like newspaper or some legal manner or something. It's like, oh, you're just doing me and you didn't get the rights to do this, you know? But yeah, if you look up Riff Raff and Alien, just like side by side pictures, like they're the same person for sure. But yeah, this is a great intro to this character, kind of doing their own little side hustle music shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just kind of lets us know what Alien's all about, and he reinforces that throughout the movie. You know, like when he's talking to the girls, he's like, oh yeah, it was like, that's what it's about, big booty bitches and money and all that. It's like, yeah, this guy's just like living the dream in St. Pete, I guess.
He's trying his best.
Living his dream. Yeah.
Living his dream. Yeah, exactly. And look, you know, shout out to Alien. Like I'm not performing at St. Pete in front of a bunch of really attractive people in swimwear. Like he's doing the best he can. And it's probably better than what I'm achieving here. Hotel party is busted. You mentioned the hotel party and the vibe that we get from the hotel party. That looks terrible. That is where I would be like, you know what? I'm going to check out from this spring break. I'm good. We get to a point, obviously, where there's like soap and bubbles overflowing through multiple people's rooms. It is all so congested. It's so tightly packed. And then we escalate to basically like doing body lines of cocaine off of people.
Yeah.
Absolute wild stuff. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think this is like one of the main parts where we meet the twins or whatever who also get busted with the girls. But crazy. Yeah, it's like there's 40 people in a bedroom. It's just like, it's wild. The ceiling tiles are coming apart. Like it's chaotic. You know, even looking at that shot of the front of the hotel, you kind of get that panning down shot.
Yeah.
Like, are these places meant to hold that amount of weight? Like there's so many people just standing out here. Like this is kind of crazy, but it definitely just reinforces the chaos, how congested it is. Like it's amazing.
And the girls are just like quickly obsessed with this lifestyle because it is such a stark difference to what they're having at college, which is like really dim, like not fun at all. They're in the same place. They have nothing to do. They are very quickly hooked on this kind of lifestyle. Do you think at any point in time, I don't think so based on what we see, but do you think that any one of them is like, this might be troublesome?
I mean, the only one to think of is Faith. Like that's the only one, but it doesn't seem like it at this point in the movie. It seems like she's on board with everything. But yeah, it's like they left the holdovers college and went to spring break. So there's like, there's so much shit to do here. So they're just eating it up.
Yeah, of course. And then they get busted. They are taken to court in their swimsuits, which I think is a great little Harmony Korine play here. And I think like visually, the visual juxtaposition is really, really nice, what he does here. And they go to a holding cell. They obviously can't pay their fine, so like they're in jail for a day or two or whatever. Then they make bail because Alien busts them out essentially, and breaks them free, totally legally. And he's an interesting guy. Pretty malicious intent from the beginning, I would say. No, he doesn't hide it that well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we see one of the twins do it in the courtroom where like looks back at Alien and kind of points to the girls and just like, I think we could use them kind of thing, you know, like says it with his eyes. Yeah, it's a real interesting moment. And I think it is Faith that immediately calls it out. Like, why did you bail us out?
Yeah,
like, what's your purpose here? They go to that party where she's super uncomfortable and wants to leave, all that kind of stuff. That scene, I mean, we're kind of there, but that scene where he's like right in her face, like rubbing her face, like, I would never do anything to hurt you. It's like, oh my God, I'm like secondhand uncomfortable just how physically close you are to this person.
You talk about movie scenes that don't age well. That is a movie scene that has not aged well because of James Franco's history and his allegations and everything going on with him. So it definitely has a level of like realistic uncomfortableness, where you're like, I wonder what happened on this set. Right before that is his monologue. They're chilling outside. You got the twins that are on their own table. Two of the girls are on a bench. Alien is kind of like sitting on a bench on a kind of a picnic table, and he's just talking about them, what they're doing down there, trying to like sell his lifestyle to them. And you can tell most of them except Faith are like intrigued. They're on board. They're laughing, they're engaging with him, and he gives off really, really weird vibes. But I wanted to put this in here because I think this is definitely the scene where you're like, oh, like Franco's committed. Wow, he's sending it in this movie.
He really is. There's no question about that. He is 100% committed to this role. The monologue is so interesting. They ask him like, what do you do? He's like, I'm just hustling, you know, and just like, whatever. He talks about like being the only white person on his block growing up and just like, you got to adjust to the community. And that's all he's doing. He's like putting on his shows. He's doing his music. He's got the twins, like all that kind of shit, which is wild too. It's great. And like you said, this is the part where it feels like 3 of the 4 girls get hooked, or at the very least intrigued about like what life could be like hanging out with Alien. Faith never feels like she 100% buys into him at all. But this is a great scene.
So that really awkward party happens. That really awkward encounter with Alien happens between Faith and Alien. And then Faith leaves. Faith goes back home. She can't take it anymore, essentially. Now, what I gather, the only thing stopping the other girls from not going home is the fact that they actually like this lifestyle. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's what it seems like. It's what they came for. At least it's what they think they came for, and they found it. So it's like, I'm not leaving yet. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're all trying to get her to stay, but it's like, no, they found a version of what they think they wanted.
Oh, that's crazy. That is so crazy. I also think it's like, it's always interesting to me, and I always like gotta at least respect a little bit when you have one of the titular characters like dip halfway through the movie, where you're like, no more, like essentially no more. So I think that's a very interesting narrative play for sure. The next bullet I have on here is Alien sucks a gun cock. This part is wild. This is where I believe Vanessa Hudgens and one of the other girls, Ashley Benson's character, are with Alien at Alien's house. He's showing off like all of his shorts and all of the colors and all of the different things, all of the different things in his house. And this is where we really get a power shift, in my opinion. And this is the most intriguing scene to me. I don't think it lasts much beyond this, but I think it brings something really powerful to the table for the movie, which is they basically take the guns that Alien is playing with, essentially, and they turn them on Alien himself. And this, to me, is an exciting scene, but I wanted something else to happen. But I want your take. I want your take on this scene, because they do make Alien suck a gun as if it's their cock. And it is disgusting, and also, I mean, it's really perverted. It's also like really intriguing.
It's interesting how we see, like you said, kind of a power dynamic shift here,
Mhm.
because it does start out with another alien monologue of just like, check out my shit. I got guns. I got Scarface on repeat. I got all, like,
Yeah.
he's just like showing
He
off
like
all his
combines the
stuff.
two. He combines the two colognes, and he's like,
Yeah.
It smells real good when you put them
Yeah, it's
together."
like Calvin Klein 1 and Calvin Klein B. I like to smell good. I put them on together. Yeah, it's so funny. But then, yeah, the girls get the guns, and you can tell at the beginning, and it's like, those are loaded. Don't play with those. You know, it's like they're loaded. Don't play with them. He's kind of freaked out, and then the girl's like, "What's to prevent us from just like taking everything now?" You know, and
Yeah.
I don't know when the shift happens, but there's a point where he's like, "Oh, these girls are kind of messing with me. They're testing me now, so let's do that." And then the whole scene ends with him being like, "I think I love you guys. Like, I just fell in love with you guys." It's like, dude, that's crazy. You know, you could have just had your head blown off, but you're like, "No, these are my people." It's like, that's a wild take.
It is the true cinematic definition of match my freak, is
Yeah,
what it is.
for sure.
It is
For sure.
it is so unhinged and so terrible. What I wanted to happen, and I realize I'm a little bit biased because we just watched The Rover a little bit ago, and there's a scene in The Rover in which we essentially get a jump scare of someone gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
I just think it would have been so fascinating for them just to murk Alien right then and there. They have they have the guns in his mouth, and we essentially, at this point, it feels like the pressure, like the tea kettle has come off the burner. Like, we've lifted the lid of the tea kettle a little bit.
Yeah.
We're letting out some of the steam. It is definitely more of like the perverted sexual nature of things. It ends with him saying, "I love you." So it goes down that tonal route. I'm really curious if, while these girls are being very alluring and trying to get him to essentially obey and like dumb down what he's doing, if one of them just pulled the trigger and we just saw him die, I think the shock value of that would have been enough to like kind of push us through the final 30 minutes. It obviously would have changed the narrative of what happens.
Yeah.
But I think that would have been something really, really interesting.
It definitely would have been interesting. I'm curious where the narrative would go from there, because then it becomes kind of like a cover up the body story. You know, it's no longer spring break. Like, the Gucci Mane stuff doesn't matter at all at that point. So I'm curious what the story becomes, but it would be like, visually, it would just, yeah, you wouldn't expect it. It'd be so interesting to see.
It maybe shows my hand a little bit about the Gucci Mane storyline. I think it's like kind of weak.
Okay,
and I think the movie works better without it. Like, I think the final, like the last raid that we get is phenomenal stuff. Outside of that, I think it's like definitely more for laughs and not actually helping the storyline really.
Yeah.
I'm much more interested in the dynamic that is encompassed in that moment between the two girls and Alien. And I kind of wanted that to take off. Next bullet point we have Britney Spears, man. This is like it's so iconic.
It's Britney, bitch. You know, like, yeah, it's so good. This is the scene I think of when I think of this movie. There's the piano out by the pool, the four of them all singing the song, and then obviously like the actual song comes in and we get some montage stuff, but this is it. This is what the movie is. I love this scene so much. This movie's full of great music, great needle drops, but this is the one for me. I love this scene.
Yeah, I love this scene too. I think you definitely have to be like on board. If you made it this far in the movie, you're on board, I would say.
Yeah.
But it is incredibly done. It's visually, like stylistically, pretty iconic because you already have the ski masks, you have the neon swimsuits. Like, that is kind of what we've elevated to at this point in the movie. And it's pretty incredible stuff. One of the girls goes home after this, right? And she, similar vein to Faith, she was like, I think this is too much for me, because I think she gets a taste of what might be coming with Gucci Mane and his character in that storyline.
Yeah, this is when they get stopped by Gucci Mane and, like, I don't know if it's his sister or who the person is in the passenger seat.
Crazy
and it's
scene,
just like, this is my territory. You need to get the fuck out of here, whatever. And then as they drive off, she like shoots into the car.
She like unloads an Uzi on him.
Yeah, it's wild. And then Cotty, Harmony Korine's wife, takes one in the arm.
Yeah.
And that's when she's like, I have to go. Like this is too much for me. I need to go now. So this is when she leaves.
I think that's kind of funny. Like, I think this whole movie is really hilarious, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Both intentionally and unintentionally. There's a lot of humor in this.
100%, for sure. So we are left at this point with Vanessa Hudgens' character and Ashley Benson's character.
Yeah.
These are the two girls that are left. I wanted to put on here as well. We get it's not really like a montage, but it's definitely like a 5 to 7 minute tonal lead in to like what we're doing with the final 10 minutes of the movie and going to raid Gucci Mane's house. This is where Alien and the two girls basically are just like having sex in his pool. I could not help but think of Showgirls in this instance for sure. And like it's pretty hot, but it's also like, you are fucking weirdos. Like, you guys are really, really weird. And it's just 7 minutes of Alien being like, you guys want to do this with me? Can you guys do this with me? And they're like, yeah, well, let's do it.
All I can think is like, oh, you're getting UTIs. Like, you guys got to stop doing this.
You guys
like,
are toast.
No, you can't fuck in a pool. Like, that's crazy. You guys, like, that's just like, yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. I would reckon UTIs on Alien's like list of things he cares about.
Yeah.
Got to be pretty low.
Probably pretty low. Yeah. He's sharing a lot of stuff with them, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, look, they love each other at this point, you know, nothing's new to them. Then we get the final raid. I really felt a lot of different movies in kind of the back third of this movie. I mentioned Showgirls. When they go to do the raid on Gucci Mane's like house, his mansion, I couldn't help but think of Miami Vice, because like we're in a speedboat, we're going in real like a tropical area. Again, the stylistic decisions to have the neon bikinis, the neon ski masks, and this is where I do think Harmony Korine makes the right decision in killing off Alien early. I think I would prefer it earlier in the film, like I mentioned, but I love that they get on the dock and Alien he's just for show. He can't, he doesn't do anything. And he deflates very quickly, which I think is a really great like narrative spin on his character. He's just like, he was all fluff and never amounted to anything.
Yeah. And speaking of like unintentional comedy, like just, 3 seconds on the dock.
So
and he's
fucking
done.
funny.
It's like, oh shit. Okay. I guess. And they don't even really they could have made a meal out of that and they didn't.
Oh no.
Like it's all just part of the shot. Yeah. It just happens. Like you're almost confused the first time you watch this movie. Like, wait, where'd he go? You know, and then they pan down. It's like, oh, he's dead. Like, okay, weird. All right. That's an interesting choice. So I think it's great. Like you said, it kind of just shows how much show he is, you know, like he can have all this stuff, but it's like he can't really hang, so to speak. And the girls just fucking clean house, man. Like they go wild. It's great.
They go absolutely wild. It is kind of insane, and I do think it's really well done how quick it is, because it proves that they have surpassed Alien. Like they are so entrenched in this lifestyle. It's not really about Alien anymore. It's about finding the next score and the next high and the next kind of like whatever event it will take to keep them wrapped up in this world. They go on a tear at Gucci Mane's house. And I was going to try and find the quote. I don't think it's on IMDb, but it is fucking hysterical to me. The lead up to this, we get like intermittent cuts of like Gucci Mane. Basically like fucking someone in his house. And he's like, oh yeah, you're riding that dick like Beethoven. And
he says, you're playing that shit like Mozart. Yeah, you're playing that shit like Mozart. It's like so
I just
good.
think it's incredible. I think everything from Gucci Mane in this movie is so hilarious.
There's no way that's in the script, right? Like he just like
there's no way
came up with that shit. Yeah,
100% ad
for sure.
There's no way. I guarantee you, Harmony was like, just let it ride. Like whatever you want to say,
whatever
like,
you would say, just do it. Yeah,
just go for it. He's in the hot tub. His girls are in the shower. Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Benson's character, they come in. They take everybody down, essentially, which I think another really like strenuous point of suspension of disbelief, where it's like, okay, they're two like young women just armed with like one gun apiece, like outdoing this entire street gang. I don't know.
Yeah, and the street gang shoot like stormtroopers. You know what I mean? Like no one's hitting anything for some reason. Like none of them even take a shot to the arm or whatever.
Yeah, no injuries.
There is like a suspension of disbelief for sure, but at that point, that's not really what the movie's about anymore. So it's just like you kind of can fall into it, I think.
Yeah. Can I quickly, before we choose our true cinema, I have the quote from Gucci Mane, whose character's name is Archie, by the way, which is incredible stuff. Damn baby, feel like you're playing piano on my dick, like you're playing Mozart. That's incredible. One alien quote real quick. This is during his monologue when he's on the park benches.
Yeah.
Some kids, some little kids, they want to grow up to be president. Some kids want to grow up and be a doctor, you know? I just wanted to be bad. They kicked me out of school. I thought that was great. Shit, I don't have to go to yo school. That was the best thing in the world. Just that line is hysterical to me, and it's also perfect for this movie because it just so perfectly encapsulates the energy of the film. The more I talk about it, the more I like this movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, again, you can't deny how into the role Franco is. He commits 100%. And that's like part of the reason the movie works is because he is alien without a doubt. You're able to set aside James Franco and just be like, oh, this guy is alien from another planet, y'all.
Yeah, that's crazy. Bikinis and big booties. That's what it's all about. Okay. What is your true cinema moment for Spring Breakers, Ben?
I mean, it's gotta be Britney Spears. Like that's the moment for me. It's just the top. Like it's a great connection for all those characters in that moment. And because this is like before they go rob someone else. This is like when they rob the tourists or whatever, the spring break tourists, because they have like their pink ski masks on and shit, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I love this scene.
I'm going with The Last Raid, which nice. I know is kind of cheating a little bit because it's like we're building all up until this final 10 minutes. But like I said, it's the moment where we get a really interesting like narrative conclusion to Alien, and he just like kind of was a nobody, and then these girls supersede him. Really iconic visual style. They pop Gucci Mane one shot in the dome and they just take him out, which is crazy. Yeah. I think this is great, and I think watching this movie, even if not everything is like the best, is worth it to get to this point, in my opinion.
For sure, 100%.
It's a great payoff. It's a great payoff. Yeah, Spring Breakers, kind of a sick, kind of a fucked up movie, but like kind of a sick little flick. Okay, let's do A1X. Are you ready to do A1X?
Let's do it.
Okay. Last time we did this movie, we did 4 A1X, I think, if I'm not mistaken. We did Vanessa Hudgens, Selena Gomez, James Franco, and movies released in 2013. Now, I don't know what we chose, but we're only doing one A1X this time. Yeah. I hate to break it to you guys. We're going to do vacation movies. Now, we have done Vacations Gone Wrong. We did that when we watched Men for the very first time, understandably so. This one, just Vacations. I don't think this vacation went wrong for a couple of people. I actually think it was exactly what they wanted, and they got it out of their vacation.
Yeah, there are some people that this was a very successful vacation, without a doubt. And there are some others where they maybe learned this isn't exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, maybe not returning to St. Pete's for spring break, I would say. Okay, here's our short list. We've got Spring Breakers, The Hangover, National Lampoon's franchise, really any of the vacation movies. The Great Outdoors, Just Go With It, Weekend at Bernie's, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, the better Home Alone, of course, City Slickers, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, What About Bob, Road Trip, Little Miss Sunshine, The Holiday, The Trip, A Summer's Tale, and I threw The Talented Mr. Ripley on here. I think you could argue that is a vacation movie. For
sure, without a doubt. I left one off for you and one off for me. I'm curious if you're going to pick the one that I left off for you.
Oh, dang it, really? Well, not like a test. Oh, shoot.
I'll let you think about it, but...
What is it? What could it be? Is it a movie that I really like? Like, am I going to know it right off the bat?
Yeah, you're going to be mad if you don't think about it, I would think.
God damn it. Shit.
So I'm going to share my...
Why don't you do yours first? Yeah, why don't you go first?
Mine is one that I think I've talked about on here before, and I just want more people to watch. It's a film called Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
It's a great pick. Wow.
With, Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo. Like, such a funny movie. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, it's the wildest kind of humor. Yeah, they both wrote it. Annie Mumolo, people who don't know, she helped write Bridesmaids. So just like super funny stuff. Jamie Dornan's in it. He's hilarious in this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I just want more people to watch it. I think this is such a good movie and not enough people talk about it. So Barb and Star, go to Vista Del Mar.
That kind of movie is not generally for me, and I watched it at the behest of your opinion, and it is very successful. It is a very funny movie.
I'm happy to hear that.
It is very, very good. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, are you potentially referring to Aftersun?
No, but that should have been on the list for sure.
Should have been on the list. Okay, I'm glad I mentioned it because it is in fact a vacation movie of the sad sort. That's for sure. Okay, I was gonna take another stab at it. I was gonna throw Before Sunrise out there.
There it
Technically,
is.
Jesse's on a vacation, right?
They both are. They're both on vacation. Neither of them are from there.
Yeah.
Sunset, she lives there at that point.
Yep.
Midnight, I think they're both there. So yeah, Sunrise is the vacation one for both of them. So good job.
I think you could make the argument. It's been a while since I've seen Before Midnight, but I believe you can make the argument because they go on a family vacation to Greece.
Oh,
and
that's
that
right.
is what happens in Before Midnight. So I would pick Sunrise, but I'm gonna audible. I'm gonna pick Before Midnight.
Okay.
I think, in my opinion, the best of the trilogy, and I know that's a pretty hot take, and I know that it's the one that doesn't get talked about a lot, but I think it's the best of the trilogy. So I'm gonna go with Before Midnight.
Nice. I believe that is a hot take, but it's not a bad take for sure.
Nice. I've done it. Look at me. Wow. I feel so proud that I guessed it correctly.
You did it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. A24 ranking for Spring Breakers. This is the moment of truth to see where we land compared to like 3 years ago.
Yeah. So I gave it a good time last time, and I rated it 4 stars.
Last time you rated it 4 stars.
Yeah, both times I've given it 4 stars. So I'm trying to like figure out. I want to say that's somewhere between like a B+ and an A-. I know this isn't like an A movie by any means, but for me, for what it is, like I like it. So I think I'm gonna go with the A- on this.
Wow, A-. That's pretty good.
Might be too high. Maybe it needs to be a B+, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm feeling an A- right now. Just thinking about that Britney Spears scene alone, I was like, yeah, this movie deserves that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I like that. I love that. Okay, so you're going with a B- is what you said?
A-.
A-. Whoa, A-. Okay, better pen that down. Gotta write that down. Okay. I currently have it ranked at number 62 out of 100 on my A24 rankings list. Now, I did give it 4 stars. I like it a lot more this time around. I think there's a lot of good things.
Wait, sorry, hold on. Is the 62 based on your first viewing or this most recent viewing?
This most recent viewing. It bumped up like 35 spots.
I was going to say, I mean, to 4 stars and still in the bottom half, that's kind of wild. But I guess it just shows how good A24 can be.
It's tough because in this like 40 to 65 range, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
That is just like really good.
Yeah.
And it's weird to be like to put it so low, but I don't know, like I have it right next to movies like The Humans, The Tragedy of Macbeth, 8th Grade, Earth Mama, we really liked. Things like that. Where I think I would all prefer to watch those instead of Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
But I think in theory, love revisiting Spring Breakers once every couple of years. I own it on Blu-ray, so I love it enough. I will give it. I'll give it a C+. Is that mean? Is C+ low? I feel like that's too low.
It feels low for a 4-star movie. Like a B- seems a little bit
okay
more logical, but this is your rating, so you can do whatever you want.
Can I alter it? Can I go with a B-? Because I said C+, and as I said it, it felt wrong.
Yeah, follow your heart. Do what you gotta do.
I'll go with a B-. I'll go with a B-. Yeah, I like Spring Breakers a lot. I don't think a lot of the narrative stuff works very well. I think it is definitely a vibe for sure. But, you talk about it and you're like, pretty funny, pretty crazy, pretty fun to watch. So it's got a lot of good stuff going for it.
Look at my shorts, every fucking color. I mean, come on.
Look at my shit. Look at my shit.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff. Okay, A- for you, B- for me. Any closing thoughts on Spring Breakers? Anything you didn't get the chance to say?
No, just if somehow you've listened to this and haven't watched it, check it out. It's worth a watch.
Yeah. If somehow you have not seen Spring Breakers and you've made it this far in the pod, I would go on record and saying you might be crazier than Alien. That is wild stuff that you've accomplished.
That's true. Yeah.
Next week on the pod, we're doing a movie that we've gotten recommended to us multiple times. We have yet to get to it. We're doing Waves, 2019 movie that a lot of people say pretty underrated in the A24 catalog.
I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to get back to our boy Lucas Hedges making the
our
return.
Boy. Yes.
I'm very excited about that. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I don't know much about the movie, so I don't want to say it's gonna be a fun conversation, but I think it's gonna be a good conversation to have for sure.
It'll be good. I think it'll be. I think Spring Breakers was a very good breakup from the sad movies and the bad movies that we've watched as of late. So
yes, yeah.
I would say Waves will be a nice direction moving forward for the pod. I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah. Spring Breakers, fucking crazy movie.
Let us know what you guys thought about Spring Breakers. If you happen to rewatch it with us, or if you haven't seen it before and this is the first watch, tell us what you think. We are on Instagram and Twitter at 24 minutes of A24. We're also on YouTube where you can subscribe to us there and watch us talk about these movies. We appreciate everyone's support for following us, for interacting with us. It means the world. So thank you very, very much. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.
Did it.
We did it. It applies. It's the movie. Yes.